o'clock. I will now call the Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 Environmental Resources Committee to order. We will start with the item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Mind if I sign up?
Go ahead, sign up. Yep.
I had to park down the street and.
You got it.
I didn't have time to change, just grab any.
Okay. We will move on to item number 3, public comment. And we have 15 minutes allotted. I have 4 people that signed up that wanted to speak, for sure. So I will give everybody 4 minutes. That way we'll be done in our 15-minute limit. So we'll start with Zena Doles. If you would please state your name and your municipality, please.
Zena Doles.
Is that on? There we go.
Not on.
There we go.
Zena Doles, Town of Gunther. I'm here for the amendment to Chapter 17. I've owned the property for 11 years. We are a neighborhood commercial. For at least 9 of those years, we had a pre-existing fence, which we replaced this summer. In all accounts, we thought we were doing the right thing. We went to a 71-inch tall fence around the whole. So my property's on the corner of 2 county highways, X and C. So running both ways, we went to that height. We put in driveway gates to protect our property, keep people that are up to no good out of there when we are not open for business or when we're absent from the property. And then we had a visit from one of the zoning people this summer that told us our fence was illegal. So we contacted our district person, Nick, and we've been working with him and zoning to try to reach the best possible way to rectify the situation. There has been an amendment filed to that by Nick and also by my town board, accepted and submitted a recommendation to increase the height for neighborhood commercial from 4 feet to, one says 8 and one says 12 feet up to. So that's why I'm here today. So.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Dean Beck. Dean, please state your name and municipality, please.
Dean Beck, Town of Easton Chairman. I'm speaking in regards to 7A, Animal Waste Ordinance Amendment. I've been a member of the committee for the whole process with the farmers. One area I feel that is being ignored as far as the towns is if you go to this 2 months manure storage, that manure will get hauled in spring, and the extra weight on our town roads and the critical spring breakup is going to cause more damage to our town roads. I asked about it being included, and it's pretty much, that's not the county's problem, supposedly, but we are all part of Marathon County, and I have to, you all know, you don't have a big budget like anybody does, and I don't have extra money to do more repair on roads. The other thing that concerned me, the last meeting that we had, it looked like the time frame for implementing this moved up from 2 to 3 years to possibly 1 year. I realize your committee is the one that's going to give the recommendation of when this gets implemented. I don't think a year's enough for people to adjust to this. There is opposition on the eastern side of Marathon County that doesn't have the same issues that the western part that's bringing this forward. I realize you're going to hold some meetings to try and inform the farmers, but I'm still getting questioned even today on certain aspects of it. So you need to be very open about this, because I don't want to lose the small farms that are in our side of the county. And I hope you don't either. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Kim Bremer.
Hi, I'm Kim Bremer. I was also on the committee. I represented Farm Bureau because I'm the Farm Bureau Director for Marathon County and the 6 surrounding counties. I actually live in Clark County. I'm from Loyal. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I would say that probably one of the most important things that came out of the meeting was that, one, Marathon County was willing to actually put this working group together. And that they did have input from farms of all different sizes and Towns Association. And I think that they did a great job of putting things in perspective and coming up with a pretty workable solution from where it started. I know in the very beginning, Farm Bureau, we had initially responded that we did not want the ordinance to go through as it was written. So it was good to be, we were initially opposed, but it was good to be involved in the process and the working group moving forward. In terms of what was developed, this is a pretty reasonable ask of farms, and I think that the farmers involved in the committee would be willing to say that as well. And then in terms of looking at the buffer strips and addressing the sediment loss, because we know that that is a big issue in the watershed in this county. If I had one wish, I would say it's that we continue to always improve communication. I know that the committee and the leadership on the committee is aware of that and is always working on it as well. I had calls from farmers about a couple letters that were sent out. They didn't necessarily understand it. And you could see that it was clearly probably written by Corp Counsel. So I think that probably one of the bigger challenges going forward is just going to be the committee reaching out through the focus groups, listening to the farmers and clearly communicating everything that's entailed in this ordinance, because I think that there's a lot of good pieces in it, and it is very workable. It was also impressive to be involved at this level because I work with a lot of towns and counties, not just in Marathon, and the process doesn't always work this way, unfortunately. So this was great to have input and then to come up with a really workable solution at the end. So kudos to Marathon County for moving forward and in that direction.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have James Yedis. Please state your name and municipality for the record, please.
James Edis, a dairy farmer and a generational farm, started in 130 years ago, 1895. Been farming for 42 years, live in the town of Easton. And the letter I have here is very concerning to me. I mean, I get what Kim was saying about workable group and everything like that, but is this really needed? The original ordinance for waste management was passed and adopted in 2008. 17 years we've had this on the books. 17 years and millions of dollars spent out there in that watershed. I live on that side of the county, okay? I can, basically on my two hands, I can name the number of farms left, especially small farms. We have nothing to do with the problems over there, which began decades ago. The amount of farms in Marathon County has decreased significantly since this was started. an average of 10 to 15 per year. All we have left over are small farms. All these large farms, they're already under the nutrient management plans. And that's basically what it is. This right here that I'm holding in my hand and say, you either get a nutrient management plan or you're gonna pay $50 so you can spread manure on your own land. I've been doing it for 43 years on my farm. Not one time have I ever had an issue with water quality. Not one time has CPZ or anybody else came and said, hey, you have water quality issues out there in the eastern part of Marathon County. And I dare anyone to tell me that there is documentation of that. Everything is concerned about the watershed, the Fenwood, and that. I can remember when I was on the Farm Bureau board, they came in and talked about this stuff. They got this multi-million-dollar grant. We're gonna put in buffer strips, we're gonna do all this stuff. Great. What happened? Nothing. And now all of a sudden, now they think that having an ordinance like this is gonna change it? They couldn't get it handled back then, but now you're gonna have an ordinance to put this on us small farms that we can't go and spread our manure without paying a tax because we don't have a nutrient management plan, which we don't feel we need. And if we did need it, we'd get it. Right? I mean, isn't that how this country is supposed to work? You're not supposed to have government going and telling you, you do this or we're gonna charge you. That's a bunch of crap. I take care of my land. All the farmers around us, we take care of our land. We don't have issues, at least not that I know of. Nothing that's been proven to us. You come out and you show us that we got water quality issue like there, you know what? I'll take a second look at it. But this is all because of the Marathon County playground, which is now the Old Plain flowage. And it was designed that way, but it's turned into that. You got multi-million-dollar houses all over the place. You got people out there water skiing. The water turns green once in a while because you have weather issues. Oh my God, life is over. Really? No, life isn't over. We can't afford multi-million-dollar houses or $100,000 vehicles to drive around and be snooty at. I believe like Epic and stuff, I'm sure you're all aware of that. They're the ones that are pushing for this stuff. How come we've lost farms in this county for how long? How come it hasn't gotten better? I don't know. Maybe they haven't spent their money wisely. Why can't they just go and work with the farms in the affected areas individually, because there's a hell of a lot less of them, and get it taken care of? Why do they got to put this on everybody else around the county?
30 seconds.
So I ask you, before you really consider doing this, it's all great and dandy that to work together and all the comments of all wonderful working groups is better than it has to be, but why does it even have to be in the first place? This is another example of government overreach when it comes to bureaucracy trying to get involved in my business and everybody else's out there. If it goes through, well, we'll happen to see. But I'm asking you not to do it because it's not needed. Make them prove to you that having this will make a difference, because otherwise it's not going to be anything except more government overreach. It hasn't done in the last 17 years. Why is it going to make a difference now? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to add one more correspondence that I received. I feel this is relevant because this is another member of the farm-led work group. The comments read, this is the correspondence. The comments being read aloud on behalf of Matthew O'Makin, owner of Short Lane Ag Supply LLC, advisory board member of the Old Plain Partnership for Integrated Conservation, and member of the Animal Waste Ordinance Group. To the members of the ERC, the proposed changes presented to you today are an accurate reflection of the items discussed in our most recent meetings. The conversations and dialogue were driven predominantly by farmers and town chairmen to reach these suggestions. Personally speaking, I felt that I was given access to information I requested, subjected to organized and well-moderated discussions, and that our group members led to those discussions. Not at one time did I feel that Kirsty Heidenreich tried to manipulate the conversation or our responses. I state this to leave no doubt that our discussions were indeed farmer locally led, and the representatives from Marathon County served only to provide us references for information, record the meetings, and ensure our conversations stayed productive and professional. With this, I conclude my public statement, and thank you for your time. God bless America. All right, so now we will move on to item number 4, approval of the September 30th and October 14th, 2025 committee minutes. Supervisor Drabek with the motion, Supervisor Kurth with the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item number 5, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. I'm going to open the public hearing. Everyone, I'm going to ask everybody to please mute your phones so you do not disrupt the meeting. Check to make sure mine is. The Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is now meeting in public hearing on location plan specifications for the purpose of the following projects. Tim Vreeland on behalf of Paul Buczkowski, neighborhood commercial and general agriculture to rural residential town of Reed. Tim Vreeland on behalf of Tim Grosbier, rural residential to rural estate, town of McMillan. David Kilty on behalf of Pam Kilty, general agriculture to rural residential, town of Spencer. I would now like to introduce the members of the committee. I am Supervisor Mike Ritter. To my left is Supervisor Seefeld. Then we have Supervisor Drabek, Supervisor DeBrew, Supervisor Schoenborn, Supervisor Ungerer, Supervisor Kroll, Supervisor Kurth, Tom Miller, our farm rep, and Marilyn Bend, our town's representative. Also present, we did have Lori Miskimmons, the Director of Conservation Planning and Zoning, Kirsty Heidenreich, our County Conservationist, Shad Harvey, Land Resource Manager, Nicole Deloney, Office Manager. Garrett's not here today. Okay, the establishment of ERC committees required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. This committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. The committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinances or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation and planning programs. The ERC committee will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A tape recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with the preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection. The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses will be called in favor of those first in favor, second opposed, and third as interested. The committee may ask questions of the zoning staff and applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements and on overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions related to the hearing should state your name, present your testimony or question so it becomes part of the official record. We request you avoid repetition. Once the committee has all the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony, and the committee will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are recommendations to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, who will take up the matter at future county board meetings. Contact staff for more information regarding the county board process. The committee will now hear the application of item 5E1, Tim Vreeland on behalf of Paul Buczkowski, neighborhood commercial and general agriculture to rural residential in the town of Reed. Shad, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
Paul Buczkowski, petition to rezone land staff report, November 4th, 2025 for the Environmental Resource Committee. The petitioner is Tim Vreeland at 6103 Dawn Street, Weston, Wisconsin. Property owners, Paul Buczkowski at 217544 County Road Q, Hatley, Wisconsin. The location for the rezone request, the area proposed to be rezoned is located at the intersection of Pulaski Road and County Road Q. The request, the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Paul Buchkowski to amend the General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from neighborhood commercial and general agriculture to rural residential located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter and the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 9, Township 27 North, Range 9 East, Town of Reed area to be rezoned to RR, rural residential, is described as Lot 1 of the preliminary CSM with the parent parcels as listed in the staff report. The Town of Reed Town Board held their meeting September 9th, 2025, and then the Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee is meeting today, November 4th, 2025 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On September 9th, 2025, the Town of Reed Town Board did recommend approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee. And then staff recommendations, the rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan as indicated by the town's resolution. Based on the information provided, the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, the environmental resource, we recommend to the Environmental Resource Committee to recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Adjustment, sorry, I do a lot of Board of Adjustment ones, so it's natural for me to speak. Approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, the CPZ staff recommend the towns update their comprehensive plan if applicable.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Shad? No questions, comments? Okay, I will call. Is anybody in the room or online that would like to speak in favor of item 5A1? One more time, is there anybody in the room or online that would like to speak in favor of item 5A1? Is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A1? Once more, is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A1? I'll call once. Is there anybody that would like to speak as interested in item 5A1? Okay, I will declare this hearing closed. The committee will deliberate. What are your wishes? Supervisor Seefeld.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion for the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Paul Buchkowski to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County, Chapter 17, to rezone land from NC Neighborhood Commercial to GA General Agricultural to RR Rural Residential in the town of Reed and to pass conclusions of law and forward it to the county board.
Okay, Supervisor Seefeld with the motion. Do I have a second? Supervisor Schoenborn with the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to item 5A2. Tim Vreeland on behalf of Tim Grosbeer, rural residential to rural estate in the town of McMillan.
All right, Tim Grosbeer, petition to rezone lands, staff report November 4th, 2025, Environmental Resource Committee. The petitioner is Tim Vreeland at 6103 Dawn Street, Weston, Wisconsin. Property owners is Tim Grosbeer, 10918 US Highway 10 in Marshfield. The area proposed to be rezoned is located at the intersection of County Road T and Birch Tree Road. Request, the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Tim Grosbeer to amend General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from RR, rural residential, to RE, rural estate, described as Lot 1 of CSM 20160, recorded as document number 1923243, located in the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 23, Township 26 North, Range 3 East, Town of McMillan. Parcel number is listed in the staff report. The Town of McMillan Town Board did meet September 17th, 2025. And then again, Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee is meeting today, November 4th at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On September 17th, 2025, the Town of McMillan Town Board did recommend approval to the Marathon County's Environmental Resource Committee. The rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan as indicated by the town's resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resource Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments for Shad on this one? All righty, is there anybody that would like to speak in the room or online in favor of item 5A2? Once again, is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of item 5A2? Is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A2? One more time, is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A2? Calling once, is there anybody that would like to speak as interested in item 5A2? Seeing none, I will declare this hearing closed and the committee will deliberate. What are your wishes? Supervisor Draven.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezone of Tim Grossbeer from rural residential to rural estate based on the findings of fact as presented by staff, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Drabeck with the motion to approve. Do I have a second? Supervisor DeBrew with a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5A3, David Kilty on behalf of Pam Kilty, General Agriculture to a rural residential in the town of Spencer.
All right, David Kilty, petition to rezone land, staff report, November 4th, 2025 for the Environmental Resource Committee. The petitioner is David Kilty at 205363 State Highway 13, Spencer, Wisconsin. Property owners are Pamela and James Kilty at 205245 State Highway 13 in Spencer. Area proposed to be rezoned is located west of the intersection of Kilty Drive and State Highway 13. The request, the petition of David Kilty on behalf of Pam Kilty to amend the General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from general agriculture to RR rural residential described as the west 33 feet of the following described parcel. That part of the east half of the southeast quarter of section 16, township 26 north, range 2 east, town of Spencer, Marathon County, Wisconsin, lying north of Highway 13 and Kilty Drive and lying west of County Road F, except Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 7436280209 as document number 1002282. Also accept Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 154487030 as document number 1538270. Also accept starting at a point on the west line of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 16, township 26 north, range 2 east, where said west line intersects with the east right-of-way line of Highway 13, hence north, the northwest corner of the northeast quarter, section southeast quarter, thence east distance of 200 feet, thence south at right angles to the point where said line intersects with the east line of State Highway 13, thence northwesterly along the east right-of-way line of State Highway 13 to the point of beginning. Also accept that part conveyed for highways in document number 1548798 and in volume 488, page 49, Town of Spencer, parent parcel as listed in the staff report. Public hearings and meetings, the Town of Spencer Town Board did meet October 13th, 2025, and Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee is meeting today, November 4th, 2025. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On October 13th, 2025, the Town of Spencer Town Board did recommend approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee. The rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan as indicated by the town's resolution. Based on the information provided above, finding of fact and conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resource Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments for Shad on this one? No questions or comments. Is there anybody in the room or online that would like to speak in favor for item 5A3? Once again, is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of item 5A3? Is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A3? Once again, is there anybody that would like to speak against item 5A3? Is there anybody who would like to speak as interested in item 5A3? Okay, I will consider this hearing closed and the committee will deliberate. Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion to approve the petition of David Kilty on behalf of Pam Kilty to amend the General Court of Ordinances of their zone from GA General Agriculture to RR Rural Residential in the Town of Spencer. And this motion is based on the town's approval, staff's recommendations, findings of facts, and conclusion of law.
Okay, Supervisor Kroll with a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Supervisor Kurth with a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Items 5B, C, and D all have none, so we will move on to item 6, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports, and committee discussion. Department updates, we'll do 6A1, overview of draft solid waste strategic plan, 2026 to 2030.
Alrighty, I'll take that one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your packet, you should have a draft of our strategic plan. So, sorry about that. It's not a good mic. But if I back up, how's that? How's that? Not real bad, not real much better, no. All right, how's that? Way better, way better. All right, in your packet, you should have a draft of our strategic plan. So a strategic plan for the solid waste department. So we're an enterprise fund that functions in county government, and we don't have to have a strategic plan. It's not a statutory requirement, but we have had one since 2013, and it allows us to set goals and to set objectives that are measurable and then that mirror the county's overall strategic goals and plans so that we can be aligned and we have a similar focus, and it helps our policymakers have a better understanding of what are the key issues that are driving the decisions behind what we do. So it's not only establishing that, but the important role we play for not only municipalities, but the businesses that are in our community. So where do we want to see our service go in the next 5 years? What are the key elements? What's happening at solid waste? The goals differ a little bit. So as you look through it, you'll see that some of the goals differ from previous years. And I've kind of been joking around in the last year or so that, not so much solid waste department anymore. Now we're kind of more, turning towards a wastewater department or a renewable natural gas department. So there's a lot of different things that have been happening, and that's driven a lot of the conversation at the solid waste board level. So as you go through, you'll see protecting and enhancing groundwater and air quality, both key elements that we continue to do, and the main purpose of why we have landfills, so that we can protect that groundwater, we can protect that air quality. Number two, very important, is maximizing those economics. We've had some financial challenges over the last few years as we've suffered some very significant inflation and very high capital expenses for projects. Number three is building the relationships with our community and our haulers, and specifically with Portage and Shawano County, who we have a 30-year agreement with. Number four is providing leadership on recycling and diversion opportunities. That's something that continues to be a focus. And then finally, number five is about sustaining safe and productive materials management. So as you go through, please take a look at this draft. We're going to be bringing this back either next month or the following in January. We're going to be having a public hearing on December 8th at the Solid Waste Management Board meeting. And at this time, I just want to end with saying big thank you to the Solid Waste Management Board members, in addition to quite a bit of assistance that I've received from our CPZ staff. So thank you for those.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Dave right now on this? Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious if you guys are interested in having a name change for your department based on the services that are being provided.
That's a very interesting question. A lot of the laws that we follow are, so when you look at state statutes or federal code, they are relative to solid waste laws. So that's how it calls out in legal contract and language, it calls out the term solid waste. So that's a very interesting topic, and I think one that our policymakers should discuss at some point, because there are a lot of departments around Wisconsin and throughout the upper Midwest that have changed their name from solid waste to something else. So good question, something to certainly consider in the future.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thanks, Dave.
I have one question.
Marilyn.
Just call it solid waste and recycling. That's simple.
That wasn't a question. Okay, we'll move on to item 7. Policy issues, discussion, and potential committee determination. 7A, discussion of potential animal waste ordinance amendments.
Good afternoon. I'm Kirsty Heidenreich, and I am joined by our conservation analyst, Matt Repking, who sadly frequently gets left out of introductions at the beginning, but he is here for many meetings, and we are glad he is. So thank you for your time. Again, this month, as we've been in communication with you, as you know, we plan to touch base with you every month on where things are at with our animal waste ordinance updates and changes. And when we talked with you at our September ERC meeting, we had said when we check back in with you in early November, we'll be able to give you an update on the last farmer work group meeting that we had. And we did give our work group about a month to review ordinance changes that you all also got in that same 4 to 6 week ago timeframe, with our ordinance updates that we also submitted to the attorney that we've contracted with for legal review. So we did have some great discussion at our farmer work group. We had really good attendance at our meeting, and we put together just a few slides going through some of the key points that came out of that work group that we wanted to pass on to you all as suggestions from the work group. So one thing that came to mind is that there was discussion of the need for perhaps some further guidance on the technical aspects of the buffers that we are asking folks to put along streams. So one idea that we thought would be very helpful to the general public is if we developed frequently asked question sheets that we will post on the CPZ website, and we can also hand those out during educational or outreach events or during site visits that we're having individually with farmers. You will all find that there is an FAQ sheet in your packet today for you that you can read through. We tried to put together a little something to communicate to both you and then also the rest of the county board of some commonly asked questions that we're hearing from our policymakers as we go through this process. So you can take a look in the meeting packet for that. And with buffer clarification, you'll see in the ordinance that we talked about having at least 50% of perennial seeds in the mix. And so we talked a little bit in detail about needing to clarify, perhaps we should say that it should result in 50% perennial ground cover, just to make sure there's appropriate vegetation there and not just weedy growth as well. So in summary, we did have very good discussion diving into the details of buffers. Again, we did have the work group agree that this is something that is very doable. Again, if there is a natural buffer already in place there, whether it's woods or naturally occurring grasses, we're not asking anyone to remove that. That can just stay in its place. This is just for the areas where there is no tillage setback there. It is tillage right up until the stream. We're asking for a 35-foot buffer to be put in those areas. Okay.
So some of the ideas that came from the meeting were, instead of having, originally we had talked about having a permit that was 4 years, but several individuals thought it'd be a good idea to actually offer an annual permit for the winter, or the winter spreading license, have it annually, or the option to have it as a 4-year. One thing we discussed a little bit with our work group was the pricing of it, and we were kind of all over the board with it, but we want to put that back to ERC to have that discussion with at a later time. One big discussion point that we had with the work group was actually suggested timelines. So for the winter spreading license or the nutrient management requirements, we had a suggested date of January 1st of 2028, which is 2 years from now. For the winter spreading prohibition period of February and March and the buffer requirements, we're looking at a suggested start date of January 1st, 2030, or 4 years from now. So with our group, we had discussed shorter time periods and longer, and this was kind of the consensus that we came to with these 2 dates.
At this time, we had decided as a work group that we don't have a planned next meeting. We felt like things were kind of concluded after the review of this ordinance, but certainly folks were willing to come back together if needed. We did talk a lot about, over the next couple years, if this does pass, there is a lot of opportunity for education and outreach. As conservationists, we love individual site visits, one-on-one, having the chance to have those detailed discussions with farmers. But we also really like the idea of continuing to have things like what we're having this month, open houses, meetings at town halls, opportunities to come into our conference center here in Wausau and have kind of workshops talking about what some of this means. And honestly, it's been very encouraging to have a lot of folks already reaching out proactively, asking, I read in the record review what could potentially be happening. And, I want to talk about what this could look like and what it means for me. We had a farmer come into the office this week that had read the newspaper, and he didn't have a nutrient management plan in place, and he is a small dairy. It does not have storage, so daily hauls. So he'd be looking at either needing to get a winter spreading permit or needing to develop a nutrient management plan. So we talked about what both of those options could look like. And what that resulted in was setting up a site visit with him to go out to his farm and talk about what it would look like to soil test. for the first time. He's not currently soil testing. We mentioned our conservation staff will come out and physically help you soil test, take the soil samples. He can get up to $750 in reimbursement for those soil samples. We were able to offer him $40 an acre to do a nutrient management plan for the first time. And we also mentioned to him that once you have a nutrient management plan in place, that's the foundation of conservation. That's what opens the door to other cost sharing opportunities. So once you do have a nutrient management plan, you can qualify for cost sharing for things like cover crops, reduced or no tillage, so tilling your soil less. So there's lots of opportunities, and he walked away from that meeting so encouraged, thinking perhaps it was a little daunting to do soil testing for the first time, to do a nutrient management plan for the first time. But he said to me and one of my coworkers, wow, you guys are really trying to make this easy. And I'm not saying that to toot our own horn. I'm just giving you a real life example of something that occurred within the last 48 hours of a small farmer who came in and realized this is absolutely doable. So we were encouraged by that, and I just wanted to share that example with you. I'd also like to share that, you know, I've talked about how this farmer work group, it really resulted in a good experience for the participants, but I really believe that one of the keys to success in that work group is that there was a lot of open-mindedness and willingness to change opinions or paths forward. So everyone in that room is a strong, opinionated person. We're upper Midwesterners, we're Wisconsinites, most of the people are farmers. Everyone has strong opinions. But the amount of times that we heard folks say, you know what, I actually changed my mind on that. That does seem like it's doable. Or I thought this, but now I think this once I've received that information. And we kind of tried to make it a point saying, thank you for verbalizing that out loud, that you have allowed your mind to be changed after receiving additional information. And that is not something that we experience very much in today's society. So I think when we see that happening, it is worth congratulating people that they're willing to be open-minded. And overall in the work group, I just wanted to communicate that there truly is unity in this path forward. So we have taken months to work on this together. We have involved many different agencies and stakeholders in different agricultural communities. And before we presented these ordinance amendments to you all, we asked everyone to raise their hand if they agreed with proposing these 3 key changes to ERC. And it was unanimous decision. So there has been unity in how we're moving forward. So that is great to hear and see.
So kind of where we're at next is we're gonna have a couple open houses coming up in November. One's in the town of Reet Brock, 6 to 8 p.m. And then the other one is in Wausau here at our Lakeview Center. That one will be in the afternoon. ERC meetings, you know, today, public comment and discussion, and then in our December meeting again, very similar. At that point, for the December ERC meeting, we would be asking maybe possibly to have a vote to move this draft forward. And if it does at that point, then we would pass this on, the ordinance on to DNR and DATCAP for their review, and the 90-day time period would start.
So just as a reminder, you know, this is being reviewed by our corporation counsel, and then it's also being reviewed by private counsel, who is a specialist in this particular area. So it'll be reviewed by that attorney as well. And then it goes on to full review by DATCAP and DNR, who we've been in contact about this for about a year now. So it'll be reviewed by essentially 4 different parties who are attorneys as well. So I hope that gives you confidence that this will be thoroughly reviewed. And speaking of the December meeting, that is one question we did kind of have for you all today, is just in terms of timelines that we are communicating to folks. You know, we have been saying in, you know, letters and open houses, and just also to our agency folks we're working with, potentially ERC could vote in December. We knew going into this, Supervisor Kroll had asked for a goal date of November to try to have everything buttoned up in a neat package to give you all to review. So we're happy we were able to meet that goal. And so we're just curious to hear what your next steps are, if you would feel comfortable voting on this in December, knowing that, if ERC votes on this, it goes straight to DNR and DATCAP for review. You will hear answers back from them within 90 days on what their decisions are and allowing us to approve it. And then our whole county board would get a chance to discuss and potentially vote on it. So, and I should have went to the next slide when I was saying some of those things. So likely first quarter of next year is, when we would see some more discussion coming out of what the agency reviews were. And we would also like to use the month of January to also potentially work with county board to participate in an educational meeting, to have a chance to talk to the full board about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and also bring in some guest speakers that are key players in our agricultural communities to also talk to you as well. So you're not just hearing from us, but you're hearing from some key partners who have a stake in the game as well. So that was one of our questions. We just want to touch base about December. But then also, I did take some quick notes while we were receiving public comments. So we do have this time slotted for discussion on the animal waste ordinance. I am happy to talk a little bit about some of those comments and provide a little bit more information if you all would like to. We can also save that for a future meeting. And then lastly, we're just, kind of curious to, if there's anything else that we can provide to you to help guide your decision. If there's any questions, concerns, edits you would have, that's what we're also hoping to get out of this discussion with you today.
I have one question. This pertains to all farms regardless of the animal units?
Well, as a reminder, and we have these in the slide deck in case, because I know it's a lot to remember. So the following slides in your slide deck, which I'm happy to pull up too, there are 3 key changes to the ordinance. And with each of the 3 key changes, it kind of depends on, what size you are. It's the winter spreading restrictions that we removed the small farms from. So February and March, no liquid manure if you are a medium or large size farm. But the buffers,
Number of size,
pardon me?
number of animal units.
Correct.
300? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but the buffers and the nutrient management plan or winter spreading permit, that's for everyone.
I would like to just clear up a misconception on nutrient management plan, that it's just an expense to the dairy. It's been our experience in talking with others, it's going to save you money if you follow it. You're probably putting manure or buying commercial fertilizer and putting it on areas of your field that really don't need it. So I don't see this at all as an expense for the farm.
Any other questions or comments, Supervisor Kroll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious if the new Corp Council has had a chance to take a look at this, if he has any comments, or maybe just a timeline of when you'll have a review done for this.
My first conversation about it was this morning. So no, I have not had a chance. I will say that the outside counsel that's been hired to assist with this is phenomenal. I was very impressed by her knowledge and capabilities just to go through this. So I think we're going to lean on her primarily, but yeah, I hope to get through it in the next few weeks, probably before the next meeting, and we'll go from there.
All right, any other questions, comments? Supervisor Unger?
Chair Ritter. My questions are for Kirsty and Matt. You mentioned if you would, we get public comment. So could we address or just give me an idea on Mr. Yadis's comments on the distance, the financial burden, just kind of break that down so I can understand it better and maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can appreciate your desire to understand those comments better, which is why I wanted to mention I am happy to address any of those comments. And we're always so glad when people do show up and provide these comments so we can dive into these topics together. It's great that people take the time to come and be a part of the process. Let me just take a step back and talk about the broad picture of why we did decide, or we are approaching this in a county-wide concept. Some of you with good memories may remember that even though we've been talking about this for about a year and a half, so I know our brains are all getting just a little bit tired talking about the details of this, but when we first started, we did talk about perhaps delineating these rule changes to specific watersheds, saying, what if we just said, okay, our impaired watersheds only, or our very unhealthy watersheds? What if we just change these rules for that? And the reason we decided not to do that is for a variety of reasons, but one of the main reasons being that if we were to say, in these watersheds, there's no winter spreading of liquid manure there, people have to go somewhere. So then people are traveling to the non-impaired watersheds, taking liquid manure during high runoff risk periods. And then what we would likely see is decreased water quality in our watersheds that do have good water quality. And also the general public does not think in terms of watersheds. So, if I probably asked folks to raise their hand in the room, who knows what watershed you live in? Maybe like 2 people. Kurt Gibbs knows what watershed he lives in, and I love that. So I only had 1 hand raised, but we don't want farmers to have to do what they're doing, a million things they have to do, and think, what watershed am I in on this road? It's almost impossible to know that, and to police that or regulate that, it would be extremely challenging. The eastern side of Marathon County, about half of the streams on the eastern side are priority navigable waterways. That means the DNR has designated them as priority streams for special reasons. Either the fish species that are located in them, the cool water temperatures that may be ideal for certain high quality fish species. There's a lot of reasons, but about half of them are exceptional or special in some way. So why we wouldn't want to protect that is truthfully beyond me. It is something very special we have over there, something special we have everywhere in Marathon County, and that we want to protect. There are 2 lakes and 1 stream on the east side that are impaired, but at the end of the day, the data that we've been using with our farmer work group and in a lot of our research was done through the Wisconsin River TMDL designation, or total maximum daily load. So about 7 years ago, the DNR spent about $3 million collecting data on all the watersheds that flow into the Wisconsin River. So they have delineated by watershed, so Plover River watershed, the Eau Plaine watershed, we could go on, we could list all of our watersheds, how much phosphorus is contributing to the Wisconsin River in each watershed, and how much of a reduction needs to be made in each watershed to meet the Wisconsin River TMDL, or whatever the maximum amount of phosphorus the Wisconsin River can receive and still be considered a healthy river, okay? So on the east side of Marathon County, in every single watershed, there still needs to be a 60 to 80% reduction in phosphorus on the east side of Marathon County to meet the Wisconsin River TMDL. So the data is there. We do not have to collect it. You can Google Wisconsin River TMDL. It's the first link that pops up on the DNR website, and you can look through that data for every stream, every lake, every watershed in Marathon County, and everything else in the Wisconsin River Basin. So it is a wonderful resource.
Could I add one thing?
Absolutely.
So we have the big old plant on the west side, and everybody can visually see that because it dumps into there and it turns colors and it turns green. On the east side, we don't necessarily have that, but what we do have is water that flows into Lake Winnebago, and they have very similar issues to what we have there. And then there's also a portion of the Wisconsin River that the east side contributes to that flows into Petenwell, and they have issues there. So while we don't directly see it in our county, we are contributing to phosphorus in other water bodies.
Right. And one overarching theme we've tried to include in our discussions with you all over time is that we need to look at the bigger picture than just Marathon County. So as a reminder, the phosphorus that we are putting into the Wisconsin River from Marathon County is at least 30% of the total phosphorus in the entire Wisconsin River system. From northern Wisconsin border down to the Mississippi River, Marathon County as a whole is putting in 30% of the phosphorus. 1 pound of phosphorus can make up to 500 pounds of algae. So we need to ask ourselves, is that fair to people who are trying to enjoy and live on the Wisconsin River system? Is that fair to the shrimpers in the Gulf of America who are trying to make a living and are receiving probably millions of pounds of phosphorus? So it's not just about us. Yes, we are doing this because we believe it is a sound and solid step to becoming the healthiest, safest, and most prosperous county in Wisconsin. But we also want to do this because we care about our neighbors, we care about other Wisconsinites, and we care about other people in the United States who are having issues because of what's here. We can do better. We can do better. And, you know, like we've talked about with the farmer work group, this is a simple step in the right direction. So speaking of simple steps, I believe one other thing, Supervisor Unger, you may want to hear a little bit about is just nutrient management planning versus a permit. Do you want to start out, Matt, and I can kind of chime in a little bit on potential expenses or?
So for the nutrient management planning side of it, Marathon County does offer classes at several different locations. In Wausau, there's a location. We have a couple in Spencer too. So both on the east and west side. With those classes, there is an upfront fee, but that fee is reimbursed. And then there's also cost share that's paid to farmers for soil testing. So when it's all said and done, up to $750 for the soil testing. So when it's all said and done, with the nutrient management, if they come through our class, you know, it's just really their time that they have to allocate. They're usually paid a stipend, a small stipend to come through the class. So there really isn't an expense that way. It's more the time commitment than anything. Our class is generally 4 hours the first day, which is all a classroom portion of it, which is the learning side of it. And then the second time that they're in the class, we're actually writing the plan. So, you know, it ends up being around, on average, if you're starting from scratch, around 8 to 10 hours to get a plan written. And that's probably for an average farm size of about 300 to 400 acres. 25% of farmers in Marathon County write their own plans and come through our classes. Generally, when they get larger than that size, you know, they hire a certified agronomist to write the plans for them just because it becomes too much as far as soil sampling, keeping up on things, and there's other things that they need to manage on their farms. But we have families that come to our classes, fathers, sons, husband, wives. So it doesn't have to be just one person this is put on, but it can be put on, it can be multiple people from the family that work with us to get their plans written. For the winter spreading permit, that's a little bit different. You know, really with that, what we're trying to do is look at the environmentally sensitive areas and protect those. So the last thing we want to do is see people applying manure too close to wells in the winter, too close to wetland or water bodies, you know, things that could potentially run off. So that's what that winter spreading license is really looking at, is protecting those environmentally sensitive areas. And a nutrient management plan, when landowners do those, all that is included in the plan along with many other things.
And we have almost 65% of our cropland acres in Marathon County are already under a nutrient management plan. So just keep in mind that this portion of what we're updating in the ordinance, there's a lot of people it really does not affect at all because they already have a nutrient management plan. If they do nothing has to change. They don't have to get a permit or anything. And we are hoping that folks will see the value in a nutrient management plan, understand that it can save thousands of dollars a year in the cost of fertilizer. And we don't want anyone to have to spend $50 a year on a winter spreading permit if they could instead invest that in a nutrient management plan. But ultimately, what comes out of that permit is they get a set of maps that we help them create that will show areas that they should avoid on frozen soils. Like Matt said, close to wells, close to streams, that's all on a set of maps for them that we would provide. So Marathon County will always have a free way to do a nutrient management plan. We always will. We tried to be very vocal about that. If we weren't interested in working with farmers on a nutrient management plan, we would put into this ordinance that they have to hire an agronomist. But we did not. We would love to work with anyone and everyone to put one of these plans together. And we're so fortunate that we have 2 certified agronomists on staff here at Marathon County who can help and sign off on those plans, Matt and Kirk Langfoss. So, is there anything else you would like me to discuss, Supervisor Unger? Is that, okay.
Anybody else? Supervisor Kroll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kirsty, I'm curious, it seems there's some discussion about the pricing for a license and maybe some not. There's no, I guess, yes, that point yet, but I'm curious, does that need to be decided if, at the next ERC meeting, if we were to vote on this?
No, it's our understanding, and we're happy to be corrected if anyone feels differently, but it's our understanding that due to the delayed implementation period of us having, potentially almost 2 years before this becomes active, that we would have the time after this would pass to focus on what we would like the pricing to be.
Marilyn?
An interesting fact in the town of Johnson that I mentioned before, there is a dead-end road where the water goes one way to the big O Plain, and the other side it goes to the small O Plain. And you probably know which road that is, don't you?
Maybe I shouldn't have said people don't know what watershed they're in when they're driving down a road, because folks like Tom Miller are running around this county knowing what watershed he's in. Oh.
All right, anybody else? Supervisor Drabek has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to address a public comment on the roads. Am I correct on this, that if they can spread with the permit, that wouldn't damage the roads because they'd be spreading during that time then? Am I correct, or am I understanding this right?
Okay, could you maybe rephrase that just one more time, Supervisor Drabek, or recap that?
I'm not sure I remember back that far.
Okay. Let me repeat it and tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
So you're saying, so were you trying to correlate the ordinance change with consideration to whether or not it would damage roads? And you're just trying to see if there's direct correlation between if we've done an assessment about road damage or anything about the time of year?
Well, most of the people would not be allowed to haul at that time anyway, right?
Oh.
I think what you're asking is if they have a permit to spread, then they wouldn't necessarily be hauling it on the road because they have a permit to spread. Is that what
Well, they
you're?
would be having a permit to spread, so they would be driving down the road and spreading it,
never
right?
mind.
Am I correct on that? If they need to.
For that group, that would fall into that. For the larger group, when the prohibition period would be in place,
They wouldn't be able to anyway.
yeah, they won't be able
Right,
to
yeah.
anyway.
Can I ask sorry, if I may, Mr. Chair, just a follow-up on that, point of ignorance. I'm not sure that a permit that we would issue for winter spreading would have any interplay with a town's legal ability to post a road, I think is maybe underlying your question. Towns, counties, cities, villages, all units of government have the ability under Wisconsin law to, when certain conditions exist in a roadway, whether those be seasonal or temporary in nature relative to the roadway itself, have the ability to post a weight limit on a roadway. The granting of a permit under this section, should it ultimately be adopted, does not supersede or remove one's requirement to abide by any posting requirements. Fair to say?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have another question. There is seasonal weight limits and there's Class B road limits, and there's special things that you cannot prohibit someone for doing feed or septics or anything like that to get to there. Those are just mainly to keep people that don't have any business to be there. But there is a difference between seasonal weight limits and the Class B road.
And I believe also there are certain things, I think milk, right, isn't?
Milk.
Yeah, so there are certain, so all those laws and regulations that exist, this is separate and distinct, but related for sure. Yeah.
Right, and if I could just add one quick comment about the roads as well while we're on roads. I will say we did have some very good discussion about roads in our farmer work group. We did have 2 town chairmen in attendance at our work group, and then we did also frequently have town road crew there from the town of Reet Rock when we had our meetings at Reet Rock. And we hear and understand that there likely is room for growth in the relationship between agriculture and town road crews and town government. There is room there for more communication to happen, for more unity to happen. There's so much room. And so we had said at our last work group, what would be very prudent is to make it a goal for 2026 to have either an Eastern or Western Towns Association meeting where we have a topic on the agenda related to something like agriculture and roads. And there are some townships that have a very well-oiled machine going with large agricultural producers in the township where, you know, those farmers will help do things like water the roads for dust. And if that farm causes some type of damage to the road, they know that they need to communicate to the town. They either need to fix it or pay for it. There are towns that just straight away fix and then bill a farm when there's road damages. There are towns that don't know if they can bill or charge a farm if there are road or ditch damages. And we get those kind of calls all the time. And we always say we are not the right people to talk to if you have ditch damage in your township. You have to work with your town government. And we've tried our best to empower town leadership to try to put it on an agenda, talk about, you know, what does the scenario look like if there's ditch damage and a farm, you know, maybe isn't willing to clean it up? Can we charge them? Put it on an agenda and talk about it. But some towns are very confident in that approach and some towns have a lot of questions. So I think it would be a very timely topic to talk about at one of our towns association meetings in the county and get the highway department there, some town leadership that does have that well-oiled machine in place, some larger farms that have experience in working with town government on road issues, and we could probably have great discussions at that meeting. So that is something that we are hopeful will happen. I know Lionel Wisniewski, the town Reet Rock chair, he's really kind of been a leader in this area, and I have been at a meeting or two in his town hall where he's met with larger farms and talked about roads. He's called in all the farms that are in Reet Rock. We sit down, have a great meeting, talk about how can we communicate better? How can we keep our roads good without getting the prices up. So we'd love to see more of that happen, and Lionel would maybe be a good person to talk at that meeting as well. But at the end of the day, with this ordinance, we just don't have any jurisdiction to say what can and cannot happen on town roads. We just don't. It's not that we don't care, we don't want to, it's just, it's not us. And the town should be empowered to make their own rules and do what's best for you and your town in your local area.
So I can tell you that at the state convention this year, we did have a workshop on how towns and large farms could work together, and your suggestion of getting a joint Eastern and Western meeting to talk about that too.
Any other questions or comments? What does the committee think about if we would be ready in December to vote on this? What are your thoughts?
I personally believe that the board has done or the committee has done a great job working with farmers, trying to do the best they can to communicate for everybody and everyone's best interest. And I see no reason why by December we should be ready to move forward with that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of yes nods, so let's shoot for that.
Great. thank you all for your time, and I'll just add in my last sentence, please feel free to call or email us or set up an appointment if you would like to talk individually through some questions you have, or if any of your constituents reach out to you and want you to ask those questions to us, we can meet with you. But also, please feel free to give everyone our numbers or email addresses. We are truly happy to meet or talk with anyone who has some concerns. It's always best just to talk it out instead of play the game of telephone, as you all have probably likely learned as well in your positions. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have item 7B, discussion on comments received on proposed amendments to the Marathon County General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 17 zoning code. And I believe Shad has mentioned that we will need to have a little action on this one.
Yeah, just a kind of an overview here. So again, we're in the process of doing our comprehensive revision. So I wanted to touch base with you guys on some of the comments we've received and some of the requests for code changes that we've received through this process. We've sent out multiple notifications to towns to provide input to us if they feel something needs to be changed or amended in some way. We also did hold an open house last month. So I wanted to bring those changes or requests up to the committees or to the committee, and then get your thoughts on whether you feel they should be moved forward in the comprehensive revision or how we want to go that route. So in your packet, I just had our full list of amendments. These aren't the two items that were brought to us. So I'll kind of scroll because I know we've spent some time on this in the past. So I want to focus more on the new kind of suggestions from towns. So let's go. So first, I mentioned this in the past. This was a resolution that we received from the town of Brighton. It's in relation to our farm preservation ordinance. First, I kind of want to preface this by saying, in order for us to change our farm preservation ordinance, we have to get approval through DATCAP. So the amendment process, this comprehensive revision, while our farm preservation zoning ordinance is in our Chapter 17 zoning code, we wouldn't be doing the amendments to the farm preservation until after the comprehensive plan or comprehensive zoning code has been adopted, just because it has to go through a slightly different process. But I wanted to kind of touch base with you guys on this and get some input. I did work with the previous corporation council to put together a memo, kind of some of staff's concerns regarding what the resolution stated. And I'll just briefly kind of give an overview of really the town of Brighton wanted to preserve the agricultural base. They want to reduce some of the uses that can be used in farm preservation. Some of the items that they want, they feel industrial type uses should not be allowed in farm preservation. They did include agricultural equipment dealers, facilities that do work with crop storage or processing agricultural products. They included a lot of uses that are complementary to agriculture, which can have its own struggles with the viability of farms actually succeeding in farm pres. Once you start limiting some of those uses, farmers have to travel farther to do other resources or make their operations work. They wanted to exclude non-metallic mining. And part of that, not saying the non-metallic mining portion couldn't be done, but you have to think about too, there are still roads in farm pres areas. If we have to travel farther for aggregate, that's more cost in hauling the aggregate for the road. If farms need aggregate for their operations, they're traveling farther to get that, which increase costs and time for that farmer. So really, I just kind of wanted to get the committee's thoughts on how you guys felt about this amendment. I also did want to bring up the town of Marathon did ask that we submit a copy of their minutes from one of their meetings. They were not informed that they were going to be included on this resolution, so they wanted to make sure that the committee was aware that they did not have a part in the resolution. The resolution does mention many of the Marathon County townships, But it was just submitted by Brighton. I'd be happy to ask or answer any questions, and I kind of wanted to get some guidance on, whether the committee wants us to pursue this. And if we did pursue it, again, the ask would be that we'd wait until that farm preservation ordinance update versus the comprehensive zoning code revision. But just kind of trying to get your thoughts on that.
What are your thoughts for Shad? Questions, comments? Supervisor Trebeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have you contacted the other towns to find out what their opinions are, or
We haven't specifically reached out to every single town. It's, Brighton was the only one. I know a similar resolution was getting passed around to townships, but Brighton was the only one that submitted that information to us.
Any other thoughts, comments? Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shad, can you just go over your conclusional statements from your perspective? I'm just looking at the memo that you guys sent, and I just wanted to hear it from your own words, how that really affects everything.
Yeah, so there are, if this were to come into play right now, we would really have there would be some challenges associated with one, wind energy was mentioned in it. There's obviously some legal challenges with restricting wind energy. So we could face some legal issues that way. I will say with the resolution also addressing, saying it came from a bunch of towns. Again, we can do more searching to see if other towns agree with it, but Brighton was the only one that submitted it to us. Some of these changes, you start talking about reducing agricultural-based businesses, things like that. It can impact how farms operate. Imagine if you had a tractor that broke down and it's no longer a permitted use to have a mechanic shop that works on tractors. You might be hauling that piece of equipment or paying somebody to haul. So a lot of these businesses that, yes, when looking at them, they do look industrial, they actually benefit farms. They do. And that was the intention with the farm preservation plan, is not necessarily to restrict these uses, but to make the agricultural base, the agricultural industry work together in unison, essentially benefiting it all. So when you start restricting these things, it can impact farm operations, making things more difficult to process your products that you've grown on your field. Again, get aggregate for whatever need you might, if you need to build roads, it could impact. And if people have to travel farther, I know we were just talking about roads, that's also wear and tear on roads, going farther distances. So the DAT-CAP certification is a very important part too. If these amendments, say if the committee had said, yes, include these in these amendments, we'd have to send it to DAT-CAP, and DAT-CAP ultimately has a say on whether or not it's a legal farm pres ordinance. If they deem it's not, we either have to amend it or we lose our farm preservation credits for the farmers as well. So I'm sure there's other things I'm missing here as far as some of the impacts, but ultimately I think we have to kind of justify, protecting the agricultural base, so the land, as well as balancing the agricultural industry in general, because those two, while they're related, or they help each other out essentially. You're not going to have a successful agricultural base if you don't have the infrastructure to kind of help operate that.
Any other thoughts? Supervisor Seafowl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So from what I'm getting out of this is not a good idea to let this go through. So I would say we would reject this as a committee. If we do it now, I'd make the motion that we do reject this.
All right, yeah, we're looking for action. So Supervisor Seifelt with a motion to reject this. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Tom Miller with the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Right, so kind of move on to the second request. The second request is involving our fence regulations. I'll just kind of go over a background of what our fence regulations are right now. So this specific amendment came from the town of Gunther, as well as was put forth by Supervisor Endres in the back. And if the committee wants to ask him questions, they can recognize him and he can speak as well. But our current ordinance allows for 4-foot fences to be placed closer than the building setback. So general buildings, if it's a county road, say it's 83 feet from the center line. However, a 4-foot fence can be put up as close to 2 feet from the right-of-way. This changes those regulations essentially for commercial and industrial districts to allow for up to a 12-foot fence within 2 feet of the right-of-way on the side yard and the rear yard. So with that being said, we did touch base with the highway department, and you know, some of the things that they're concerns with are clear vision triangle area, the area on intersections, making them kept clear. The highway department felt very strongly that we should maintain those and not allow fences like that in that area. They also suggested that if this were to go through, that maybe the committee might look at putting an opacity, opacity, how easy it is to look through the fence. Right now, an open fence in our code is 50% opacity. The highway department suggested maybe 25 or 30% would be more appropriate, making it easier to look through to see oncoming traffic. There was also just an idea where essentially if this was going to be allowed, and this isn't exactly what their language says here, but maybe in certain instances, a clear vision study could be done. Some transportation planners or civil engineers, they do complete like clear vision studies to make sure that, you know, when you're accessing a highway, you have enough vision and nothing's obstructing your view for certain cases like this. But as far as the amendment goes, it's essentially replacing that 4-foot fence, allowing a 12-foot fence. It does state it would have to be an open fence, and it'd have to be 2 feet from the right-of-way still. So, and then it would also change the side and rear yards, only for the industrial and commercial districts. So this isn't, you wouldn't have 12-foot fences in residential districts or anything like that. It would only be for the commercial industrial districts. I think an important thing to note is, should this get passed or should it not get passed? The ordinance applies to Marathon County's own towns. So it's not one property that it would apply to. It would apply to all of those commercial and industrial districts that are in Marathon County. I'm sure Supervisor Endres would like to also speak to this if the chair would recognize him.
Yeah, Supervisor Andrews, I'll recognize you.
There we go. All righty. So thank you, Shad. Chair, fellow board, and members of the county zoning team. I'm District 24 Supervisor Nicholas Endres on the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. I serve for the Public Safety Committee, Joint Airport Board, and a member of the Community Economic Development Grant Committee. Before we get started, I want to extend sincere appreciation to Shad for dedicating the time to meet and work through these proposed updates with me. Your collaboration is a valuable example of the teamwork this board depends on. The initial ordinance amendment, so 17-401-05, fences and wall regulations we're bringing forward today, and the clear path inclusion of the language in the comprehensive revision update is about more than just fence height. It's about ensuring our code is written with common sense, clarity, and consistency. By standardizing the ordinance language, we make Marathon County zoning easier to understand and enforce, not just for county staff, but for our businesses and residents as well. This work directly addresses operational needs expressed by our commercial and industrial property owners, enhancing security, privacy, and screening, while still maintaining community aesthetics and public safety. So as mentioned, the purpose of the amendment, so the current 4-foot front and 6-foot side restrictions do not provide sufficient height for commercial and industrial operations to achieve necessary security, privacy, screening, and noise reduction. So permitting up to 12-foot fences in front and side yards allowed businesses to enhance their security by deterring trespassing, theft, and vandalism, provide effective screening so it helps to conceal outdoor storage, equipment, dumpsters, and operations from public view, helps to reduce noise. So taller barriers buffer commercial and industrial noise from streets and nearby properties, maintains consistency, so it aligns with rear yard and storage screening, which already allows up to 12 feet. Safety and compliance considerations. So again, it must comply with the clear vision triangle requirements to ensure safe visibility at intersections and driveways. Fences over 7 feet must follow the Wisconsin Commercial Building Code, SPS 361-366, including permitting and structural requirements, comprehensive plan alignment. It supports economic development by allowing businesses to secure assets efficiently. It encourages public safety by reducing unauthorized access. It maintains compatibility with surrounding land uses through quality construction and materials. And in conclusion, a 12-foot fence, maximum height in front and side yards provides commercial and industrial property owners with sufficient flexibility to secure and screen their operations while protecting public safety and community aesthetics. So updating these provisions bring our ordinances in line with practical realities and modern standards, aligning with our comprehensive plan's emphasis on economic growth, public safety, and compatibility between land uses. This is a sensible move that both supports our business community and maintains our commitment to clear, consistent, and principled governance. Last but not least, we are talking about revision updates, which already has support by our Marathon communities, most notably the town of Gunther, whose board held a vote and supported the ordinance update, and by extension, update of the comprehensive revision to include the new language regarding the new standardized 12-foot fence language, which is already in place for storage screening. Bottom line, this is a common sense update, revision, and standardization of our ordinance language, which is in the shared interest of public safety, economic development, government operations, and the important work we do advancing the people's business. So I ask that you all please support this common sense ordinance revision update, which is solidly founded in prior precedent with respect to fence height. Thank you.
All right, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Anybody care to make a motion? Chair Gibbs.
Excuse me. So if the changes were made, would it also have to go back out to each of the towns, in the towns, to get their feedback on the proposed change? Chad? So I guess the question, Chad, I was, if the committee made these recommended changes, will we also solicit the change or the feedback from all of the county zone towns?
Yeah, so essentially what will likely happen after this meeting, depending on what everything's decided, is we would make the final draft of the zoning code. And that gets sent out to the towns again for their input. Once we receive that input, it would be brought back to the committee. And at that time, you guys would hear the comments that were brought up associated with that. So just to give you a little bit of a rundown, the goal would be to have, by the next ERC meeting, would be to have the final draft approved by ERC. You know, if for some reason that has to get pushed back, it's not the end of the world. We could push that to January to make sure towns have enough time to kind of touch base on the ordinance changes. But the goal was December, but to answer your question, yes, they would get sent the changes.
All right, what are your thoughts? Anybody like to make a motion? Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I wanted to hear from our more rural supervisors on their opinions on this, since this is something that's not, I don't experience it that much. So I just wanted to get your thoughts, guys.
To me, being a rural supervisor, out on our end down there, I don't think it's going to make any difference to us down there, but that's my opinion. We would like to get the town's opinions on it before we do anything with this. Far as if you need a motion, I think I would make a motion, we go ahead with this after we hear from what the towns have to say. If that's what you're looking for.
I would agree, yeah, the towns need to get their input before we give a final stamp. So Supervisor Seifelt, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Supervisor Seifelt with a motion, second. Supervisor Kurth, all in favor, say aye.
Hold on.
Get a discussion first, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that we're voting on the correct thing. This is not for approval. This is just to
move forward.
Or should we just postpone this vote?
Oh, but we got to give them the direction to move forward with this or not. So
Okay.
it should be just direction to move forward, correct?
If I may. So it can happen, essentially, you could, give us guidance on to move forward with it. If you want more information when we send out the code to get input, the final input for the final draft, we can also include kind of a separate page that specifically talks about this and bring that information back with you. I would hesitate if the committee is really looking at getting specifically on this amendment from the towns as well, I'd hesitate incorporating it into the overall list of things because there's 40 some amendments on there. It can get lost. So if you're specifically looking for guidance from the towns or their opinions on that, we could send them out at the same time, but it would just be a standalone item to look at, and we can bring that to you. What our staff would likely do is draft up both copies, one with it, one without it. So at the time of adoption, at the time of next month, or if we choose January, we can bring both versions to you and you guys can kind of choose which ones you want to move forward, if that would work. So as far as the motion, if you guys are looking at basically giving us guidance to get more guidance from our county's own towns, I don't necessarily think there needs to be a motion associated
Just
with
give you
that.
that guidance.
We can work with that.
I think that's it. Supervisor Kurth?
I just want to be clear in my second is that we're not putting a timeline on this vote. Let the towns respond, and then whenever the time is right, I don't want to try to push it down and try to meet a.
Basically, what Shadow's just saying is the motion and second will be null and void.
Right.
We'll just give them direction to get more information from the
And
towns.
that's why I would look at it. Thank you.
I believe that would be the consensus.
So just so I'm clear, slowest guy in the room. My understanding, you're just giving direction to solicit feedback and get the input from towns.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarity.
It was second, but so yeah, I guess to be official, we should do that.
Okay, then I will rescind my motion that I made for, as it being clear that this is not a motion to go forward, so.
And that's okay with the second? Okay.
Sounds good. And then, so just kind of to reiterate, so make sure I understand, I'll send out our current list of amendments as well as the current draft code to the towns. And in a separate document, I'll send out trying to get information based on the fence to get input from them. We'll do our best to get that information from the towns. We'll do some follow-up. We call the towns to make sure that they're hearing it as well. And then I'll bring that information back to the committee at that time, if that works. So.
I think that sounds reasonable. All right, so we can move on to item 8. Next meeting, December 2nd, 2025, and future agenda items. Committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. Do we have any announcements, requests, or correspondence?
If well, I'll go last.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair, I thought there was an amended agenda, like with items?
That was going to be my announcement.
Those I'm told did not make the 24-hour time limit to be noticed. So those are struck from the agenda.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, that's a perfect tee up for my announcement. Again, not for discussion, but we will put it on your agenda next meeting. In light of the federal shutdown, one of the ancillary impacts, we have a staff member who is funded through the federal agency, the National Resource Conservation Service. In light of the shutdown, we have not been receiving those payments. We'll come back with more of an update for you at your next meeting. It's not a fiscal issue right now. We have more than enough within the personnel budget to continue that through the end of the year, but certainly something that if it's prolonged, we want to get guidance from the committee on how to respond. And then my other announcement, I'm sure everyone was on pins and needles with the budget presentation last night. It was riveting. If you do have any requests for information or want to chat after relative to any potential amendments, happy to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other announcements, requests? All right, we will move on to item number 9, which is adjournment. Supervisor Seifelt with the motion, Supervisor Drabek with the second. All in favor, say aye.